Great. I'm Josh Rush. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Surreal Events. Surreal is a metaverse platform as a service. Essentially, it's an Unreal Engine application that's pixel streamed to your browser so you can have super photorealistic, high-quality multiplayer experiences all in the browser. And I, for one, being a mega fan of baseball, in particular, the Atlanta Braves, which is my hometown, am super excited to be here today. So thank you guys so much for coming in. Joining me on stage today, Greg Mize, Vice President, Marketing and Innovation from the Atlanta Braves. And Craig Laliberte, who's part of the business development team at Epic Games. Welcome, guys. Thank you. Have a seat. All right. So I know, how many of you guys, just quick show of hands, were at the keynote yesterday? Opening keynote, yeah. So they didn't, I don't think they mentioned the M word at all, not once. Today, I think we're going to talk about it quite a bit here, so you're going to hear that M word quite a bit. So quick, I guess I would say just audience poll, just quick show of hands, like, is this a word now that is, are we tired of this word? Are we feeling comfortable or uncomfortable? So metaverse, are we comfortable? Hands, yes, no? Do we have, I'd love just to see too, because I know a lot of people think of the metaverse and they've got different definitions of the metaverse. Anybody out here, just really quickly, I'd love somebody to step up, come up. Tell me what you think the metaverse is. Yes, you sir, here, yeah, Braves fan.
Woo! What time are the Braves coming?
That's not the metaverse.
Go Braves!
Right.
No, seriously, like, longtime fan, love the Braves, hate the Mets.
Yeah.
Love the Braves, Mets-averse, Mets.
Awesome. Yeah, you're close.
Hey, got a game ball.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. Yes, thank you.
Go Braves!
To get a t-shirt for that guy. Adam Voss, our Chief Marketing Officer, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. So, yeah, we've got to keep it light, right? So we've all seen a lot of great experiences, a lot of bad experiences, a lot of good examples and bad examples of the metaverse. We just wanted to take a few minutes just to kind of do a quick mashup of, what we think at Surreal is, kind of the promise of and actively kind of going in the metaverse right now.
Just by the side, you know the tingle. Just me not catty, you know me bingo.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, you can just tell from that footage alone, from Decentraland to Sandbox to Fortnite and everything in between, there are a lot of great examples of what maybe this little M metaverse looks like. And so I think just to kind of help us as we think about what the future fan experiences look like in all of these different types of little M metaverses, wanted to kick it over to you, Craig, just to give us, from an Epic Games perspective, how does Epic look at the metaverse? How does Epic define the metaverse?
I mean, I think there's a few ways to take it. I mean, based off what we think, one of the major things for metaverse for Epic is openness, and openness is key. We want the metaverse to be open for everyone to participate in, and we think that that's kind of one of the key founding things of the metaverse. Definitely a persistent, real-time 3D. That's definitely going to be the goal. There's going to be a strong social component. Again, it should be a place that you can go with other people. It should not be a solo experience. And we think that Epic is going to be part of that. The technology that we're building is available for everyone to go out and build these types of open worlds. And definitely, we think that we want everyone to fairly participate in it. Everybody should have their own part of the metaverse. Everybody should be able to participate fairly. And definitely openness, again, is something that we kind of always talk about.
So, I mean, Epic clearly is making a lot of moves in this space right now, and as what we consider to be one of the leaders in this space, just by nature of the ecosystem that you're supporting with the tools that you guys are providing to creators, developers, organizations. Can you talk a little bit more about sort of what are some of those things that Epic's doing right now, and how does this play into kind of the future of how the metaverse is going to be built?
Yeah, I mean, we think it's a combination, right, of experiences such as Fortnite, Rocket League, and other experiences that we showed kind of in the video, along with the tools. And then you add that with creators, that's where the metaverse comes in. Epic, we're definitely heavily invested in the tools, Unreal Engine, Twin Motion, Quixel, capturing reality. We think these are the foundational tools to help people build those experiences and put those in the hands of creators, and that's where you can go and make your own metaverse.
Great, yeah. So a little bit more on this, and I think this kind of shows up too, because we get a lot of questions, at Surreal. If you guys, have seen we're on the floor, we've got the booth. I mean, everybody wants to know sort of like, how do we get started? What does this mean? As in fact, when we started working with the Braves, our first conversation with the Braves, Greg, was probably back in late 2020. And, it was really just that initial exploration of, we want to do something like this, right? I think a lot of people are inspired by what they saw with Fortnite, some of the concerts that were going on. You guys in particular, we're looking at, okay, how does this start? Where do we start? So again, Craig, just thinking kind of back to that pipeline for 3D.
Yeah. Again, we want to empower everyone to go out and create these experiences. Our tools are made for creators. Again, open, connected ecosystem, definitely there we need. When you succeed, we succeed. We think that, we're invested in our tool sets, and, when projects like this come up, if it's successful, then we're successful in providing those tools. And we always want to strive for the highest fidelity and quality. We think that, Unreal Engine is that tool set, along with some of our other tools to push that boundary of fidelity and quality.
So this, and we can come back to this too, but I think too, as we think about, the investment required, to get into this sort of workflow where you are, building, starting with great quality, high quality 3D. When the Braves approached us, and I guess, Greg, why don't we talk back a little bit about that when you guys came to us first and said, hey, we want to build something like this. Where do we start? Where was your head at? If you can recall, this is back in fall of 2020.
Yeah, actually it was earlier. It was probably around the summer. So go back 2 slides. You can, one more. Okay, right there, the Travis Scott concert. So COVID hits, as a sports team, right? What is important or necessary for a sports team to engage fans and do business? It's games being played. So COVID hits, they canceled the season. Once we get up and playing again, which was July, we're doing so in front of cardboard cutouts and not fans. So that really forced us to rethink our business model and rethink how we engage and connect with fans. And we weren't unique in that. I would venture to guess that every professional sports team was in that same bucket as us. And so we had reached out to Epic. We had a gentleman there, John Bazell, that we know, and had a couple conversations with him, and he really kind of enlightened us to this concept of building a digital twin of our ballpark. We connected with Craig. Craig was actually the one that connected us with Josh and Surreal, which was awesome. Again, based in Atlanta. Really made those meetings a little bit more efficient, just being able to be close to each other. And it really just went off from there, and by no means is it a quick process. The actual build took months. But, it all came rooted back in this idea of COVID made us think differently about, our business and really about our fans. And, in looking at how we can evolve that to not just future-proof our business, but also to build the fan of tomorrow, that was really important. That's how we got to where we are with Digital Truist Park.
I remember that conversation pretty, the Braves have such an iconic, place, and again, they've built this new stadium that is just amazing, this great, IP, and it's like, not everybody can experience going to the park. And I remember, talking with the team and saying like, what about that fan in California that can never go experience, Truist Park and everything that it is about? How can he interact with that fan base? How can the players interact with that fan that can never go to the fan fest or the autograph signing? And so I had always said like, I think the metaverse is going to open up what people can experience. And now everybody can go and experience Digital Truist Park via a web browser. And I think there's something to say for that because it's photoreal, it's an exact replica of the ballpark, and there's some gamification in there. And so, you can go there with friends, you can go experience it, you can talk, you can, communicate with them. And so it's not just a solo event. So it is a shared experience digitally of Truist Park. And I think that was definitely something I wanted to see.
Yeah, and that's really the ethos of sports. A community event, a shared experience. You don't watch sports by yourself, and if you do, you've got your phone with you because you're engaging with people who aren't there with you physically. But sports was built around community, and that's why that was a very important element for us.
I think the idea of community is really important too when we think about this project in particular, because with community there's this kind of natural correlation to identity, and we talk a lot about identity in the metaverse as being this one true digital identity that you could take with you, and we think about interoperability. But if we take a step back from identity and we just think about it as ourselves in real life, there's really no stronger. One of the strongest kind of sources of identity is like sports fandom. We talk a lot about how fans build brands and thinking about, what that might mean for you as a club that's, trying to get younger with your fan base, right? And I remember too, when we first started talking about this, you said like this while this was a COVID reality, this was about a digital first strategy, right? And if we were to turn the pages back to, 2020, nobody was talking about metaverse. We might have been talking about it amongst ourselves or at a conference like this, but it wasn't something that was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal at this time. So you guys were truly pioneers in this space.
Yeah, no, and I think that was, as you guys, built this amazing venue, I think what started to happen is the metaverse became just more of a common term, right? It was front page of the Journal, and you've got C-suite executives that are starting to hear it and getting very curious as to what it is. And you see big brands jump in, the Walmarts and the Miller Coors. And really, I think that was really good to come in along parallel with that as opposed to playing catch up.
Yeah. And I guess thinking about the process too, if people here are just kind of wondering about it, because we get this all the time. It's like, well, what does it take to get started? How long does it take? What's it going to cost? Talk a little bit about the process, if you will, just in terms of, I think, we were talking, we eventually kind of started last summer on taking DTP into, 3D, really. So talk a little bit about that so people understand kind of from a club perspective, from a team perspective, what that's like.
Yeah, obviously, it really came down to you guys and the work of your devs and your creatives, but we were lucky in the sense that our ballpark is new. It opened up in 2017. And so because of that, we had all of our CADs and all of our Revit files very handy and consolidated. A lot of times some of these older buildings, really you got some stuff living over here and there was a recent renovation and those files are living over there. But the fact that we had everything together made the build itself, I don't want to say easy by any stretch. I'm sure you would not agree with that. But it's a complicated thing. And I think one of the interesting things in talking to some of the Surreal folks was the plans that we provided them were too detailed, right? Like down to like the nut and bolt, so they had to actually take a step back a little bit in order to build what you guys are seeing here. But for us as the club, our main role in the build was more on the realism side. So really, providing guidance, and even as simple as reference photos of what signage belongs where. And really just kind of adding that realistic element to it, because that was one of the most important things for us was we wanted it to feel real.
Yeah. You're going to say something?
Yeah, definitely, again, I think producing the asset, I think, is one of the hardest problems, that you have to solve. Once you have that asset, I think then comes into the question, what do you do with it? Putting just this asset up there where people can just walk around it, not that exciting. So, I think, the process of creating those assets is definitely there. But once you have that asset, I think one of the harder things to do is like, what do you do with it? And I think the Braves have kind of, in working with Surreal, I've said like, all right, these are the types of experiences that we want to do in the park. And I think it kind of shows what the different elements that are in the park. You guys did a banner reveal, project again. So it's having that experience, because it's not just enough just to build the environment. I think you do have to have that sense of utility there. You're going there to do something.
So let's talk about that. I mean, and I guess I'll take a step back too, because people, this comes up quite a bit, Craig, where people go, well, we're thinking about doing this. Should we do it in Fortnite? Should we build our own, right? And obviously, Surreal's kind of a build your own platform. Essentially, it's not connected to Fortnite directly, although we're using Unreal Engine, the same tools. Kind of go back to the thought process there, and I guess both from an Epic perspective and just talking about like what's available now when we think about sports experiences, like maybe even today that didn't exist a couple of years ago. But when we think why go build your own thing as opposed to showing up in Fortnite or something like that?
No, and I think, listen, Fortnite, in Fortnite Creative, you can really build some amazing experiences, but you're kind of locked into the Fortnite platform. You got to use their avatars. You can't do a lot of customization around gameplay and stuff like that. So that's why I think it's important for, the Unreal Engine to be the place where you can build out your own custom spaces. You can have it your look and feel. You can add in, any sort of elements that you want, because it's such an open system. Fortnite, definitely has a lot of different use cases, and we've seen some really good success stories with Balenciaga and people building stores and brands going into Fortnite, and those are great. They're really great experiences. I think what the Braves wanted, they wanted to represent their brand, and they wanted to have it authentic to them. And I think that's when I knew that Unreal Engine was the right tool for them, because they wanted to go out and customize their own stuff, and that's where the tool set that we provide is capable of that. You can build your own Fortnite.
Yeah, and I think it gave us more options coming out of the gate, building our own. And quite candidly gave us more control, gave you guys more control,
right.
As opposing to trying to build something to spec from another meta world. By building this custom for us, gave us the flexibility and will give us the flexibility as we program it and evolve. And I think that's the biggest thing that was important for us, is like we're in this for the long run. I mean, this is not just a fun little pet project and kind of move on to the next one. Like, this is the future of how fans will consume sports, how they will interact with athletes, and so we loved that opportunity to really lead that and control that.
So, okay, so you said it. This is about digital first. This is a long haul strategy. I know the answer to this question, but I guess for people here, like, if this is a new world, what day is it? What day is it right now for the Braves in the metaverse?
October.
The World Series time?
I don't know. So what day of the week? Are we starting on Sunday, or are we starting?
I guess the point is that you said we're just getting started.
Yeah. I mean, so if you're one of those folks that your week starts on Monday, it's Monday morning.
It's Monday morning.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we think about like the process of what it takes to build something, because this is, I mean, quite candidly, I mean, it's not easy. This isn't something you just plug and play. There's definitely an on-ramp period. There's a pipeline for getting all of the 3D assets in, having them perform on a streaming application like Surreal or another one. It definitely does take some time. And Greg mentioned it. I mean, thinking about programming, and we're going to show you a video just quickly, because we literally just a couple weeks ago, while we announced the project last fall, the Braves were busy, winning a World Series, and then there was some other stuff going on with players and such that we won't talk about. But we finally actually held, a first event just a couple of weeks ago inside of this space, and so when we think about this being really truly Monday morning, talk a little bit about the effort that you guys have done internally. Like, what is the organization doing today to kind of prepare, to program and produce events in your digital park versus like what you guys normally do with the game day, entertainment teams?
Yeah, we're treating this as a venue. Doesn't matter if it's a digital venue, a physical venue. This is a venue. It's a new canvas for us to create. And so as such, we actually have brought in folks from our game entertainment team that are responsible for programming, the pre-game shows and what happens in between innings, having them give input and direction as to how we program Digital Truist Park. As it relates to how we staff against it, we don't have any dedicated staff. It's primarily folks from the marketing team that this is one of their multiple responsibilities. I would venture to say that at some point down the road, there will be a dedicated team for Digital Truist Park. Because again, that's how bullish we are on this. That's how committed we are to really, continuing to nurture and grow this.
So let's take a look. Let's take a look at that event. Like I said, this is just a couple of weeks ago. This is sort of like an A-list, friends and family. We had some folks from the media, folks from the league show up. What was cool about this, again, short run. When we think about metaverse, we think, is it always on? Is it something that can pop up, come back down? And in this case right now, again, we're just starting to kind of test out like what's going to work for fans, what's going to work for the club, and eventually, how does this all kind of spill out into a larger strategy with Major League Baseball?
Hello, Braves fans. I'm Mark Owens, and the future is now.
The 2-2 pitch. Strike three, swinging.
The Atlanta Braves, in partnership with Major League Baseball and Surreal Events, are launching a first-of-its-kind experience by building Truist Park in the Battery Atlanta in the metaverse.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome out to Digital Truist Park. It is the metaverse of your world champion, Atlanta Braves.
Not bad.
It was fun.
Yeah. So this is an opportunity when people ask us, like, so what does this mean for fans, right? And again, some of the stuff that we're working on at Surreal in particular, we'll talk about in a second, is just about kind of the future kind of integrations with the platform, because we know, like the guys at Unreal who are so wonderful to all their ecosystem partners, is this is going to take collaboration at a scale that we haven't seen before. We're talking about kind of building out future experiences, call them 3D websites, if you will. And there is, this is a new, emerging, industry. We don't have necessarily the muscle memory or the code standards yet that make this, ready to go out of the gate, easy to go. I mean, we use this analogy all the time at Surreal about what does it take to build a digital twin? What does it take to create one of these environments? And people kind of underestimate how much work goes into building a video game. And let's not mistake it, like we're not building video games here. This isn't MLB The Show. This is, an always-on or potentially always-on environment where you can interact with the team, other folks around the organization as well. But it's still, if you were to build the real world stadium, it was what, $1 billion project, and it took hundreds of people over
600 mil.
$600 million project. Okay, so we're not anywhere near the scale of that to do a digital twin, but you have an entire industry of people who know how to do that. Right now, you've got AAA studios that know how to build video games, right? And that's a space that knows how to do what it does well. You've got virtual production for, broadcast, entertainment. Those guys know what they're doing, and that's a space that's emerging, even more every day. But this kind of metaverse space is a place for all this to converge, where you're bringing in video game development, web technologies, and jamming everything together. And so there's definitely a lot to learn. There's definitely a lot to kind of have to do to integrate and collaborate. So, this event was a great opportunity to what? We had Luke Jackson, who happens to be the biggest video game, gamer on the Braves, was super stoked. He's recovering from an injury. So he was able to basically log in from home, jump in and do, an active fan Q&A. So it's like taking cameos to another level, right? And giving fans that access to the players that they really want. Because, if you are a fan, it's not every day that you get to sit next to one of your favorite players and have a one-on-one press conference or an event like this with them where you can get a little bit deeper. And why is that important? I mean, for me as a Braves fan, I'm a mega Braves fan, the club can always get more of me, right? There's always more of me to have, right? Because I'm invested, I live and die with the team. But for the Braves, Greg, I mean, this was more about, it's less about that, and it's more about kind of branching out to, future fans. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we have built this because we want another method, another avenue, another venue for our fans to connect with the team. And I think that's where the player component comes in really, really handy because, fans have that connection point with the player. But by all means, part of our strategy here is to build the fan of tomorrow. And, knowing that these platforms, these environments are quite candidly native for, a generation. I've got 12 and 10-year-old sons. I mean, this is how they consume content in these types of environments. So by being able to be relevant to them now, we feel that that's a great way to continue to grow fandom.
Yeah, and I guess thinking about everybody wants to know how you're going to monetize this. I mean, this is definitely an innovation project for the Braves. You guys were just recognized most recently as being the most innovative team in baseball, one of the most innovative teams in the world.
That's correct.
What's the current thought process about moving into more of a Web3 strategy? What's the current thought process on how you're going to take this into merchandise sales?
Yeah, so to your point, the monetization is really the key to longevity. And what we've been discussing, you mentioned a couple of examples. Merchandise, I think first and foremost, is going to be a very natural entry point. And there's ways that we can extend that, right? So you could purchase a physical T-shirt, and let's say that comes with an NFT or a digital version of the T-shirt for your avatar. And then you look at other opportunities from sponsorship, licensing, and looking at some of the other, Web3 products. I mentioned NFTs. We're playing around in the NFT space. We launched a collection to commemorate the World Series. We definitely start to see some momentum around that. So, whether it's, transacting NFTs or, heck, being able to display your NFT collection in the clubhouse at Truist Park. So, really a lot of opportunities when you look for, how we continue to grow and really turn this into, a revenue driver for us.
And what's just if you can, just for people here, what's the reaction been around your peers, the league, other sports teams, guys that you're talking to?
I mean, blown away. The league has been a fantastic partner. We pretty much said, hey, we will take on all the risk. We will share everything that we learn, good, bad, indifferent. But we want to be the ones who are driving this. We want to be the use case for baseball and really for sports as a whole. Colleagues and counterparts at multiple teams, not just in baseball, but other sports, have been reaching out. We've done, multiple calls and conversations because I think people are really starting to see that, this is not just a fad. This is the next evolution of the internet.
And how about sponsors?
Sponsors are interested, and I think that's where we will play a role. It's not as simple as selling, signage on the outfield wall or, display, pre-roll, TV spots. I mean, those are known assets. We're talking about something completely new and custom. And so that's where, the partnership with us and Surreal comes into play, where we can actually sit down with partners and show them and walk them through some custom activations we can do within Digital Truist Park. That for them, is groundbreaking because they're really, doing different types of advertising that they haven't done previously. That sort of collaboration and that partnership with the sponsor, gives them skin in the game. They're building something that, reflects their brand. So it's really important to kind of have all parties, being a part of that together.
I think, especially at Epic, we don't think of traditional advertising as the way to go. We think that interacting with your advertisers is going to be the way. So instead of putting a sign for Ferrari, put the car in the game and make it drivable. And then you get your fans interacting with that content. So I think that stuff still has to be worked out. How can you bring in your traditional advertisers that do just put a sign up? how can they participate in this? You know, how can they gamify it? How can they, you know, get their brand authentically into this without just putting it on a billboard? And I think that is something that, you know, even Epic has you know, started doing differently, I think, than traditional advertising of, you know, selling an ad or a 20-second spot. You know, we look at it as, you know, we want brands to participate authentically with their fans. We don't want to just serve them, you know, an ad that covers up the whole screen.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think, you know, this is still very new, right? So you've got some sponsors and agencies that get it, and others that need a little bit more hand-holding. But, you know, again, when you hear that this is important to Epic and the future of, you know, Unreal, like that's a telling sign that, okay, let's figure this out.
I know we're getting kind of close to the end here. I want to leave some time for Q&A, but, you know, Greg, we just, after, you know, months of doing this past year, finally getting this thing out to market, describe kind of the feeling for folks here that have never done an event like this or never participated in sort of like a metaverse type activation. What was your feeling during and after? Because I remember a text message you sent me just about how you were feeling. So
Yeah,
talk
it was.
about
I mean, it's, you know, surreal.
yes.
No, it was. You know, it was a labor of love. There was a lot of work that went into it, but when you actually see the event start taking shape, you know, in that moment, and you see how people are interacting and engaging with the space, you know, Luke Jackson sent a text after the event and said, like, this is the future of how athletes will engage with their fans. And, you know, so we had the fans, you know, who had a very memorable and fun experience. We had the participants that had a great time. And again, really, it was just the tip of the iceberg. And that's, you know, what we're doing right now is we're building out the roadmap for the next couple of months, you know, because already with one event, we've learned a lot. And, you know, the whole idea is to continue to iterate and grow. Because again, like I said, this is a marathon, not a sprint. So we've got time to, you know, do our due diligence and learn and then iterate.
Awesome. Well, look, there's just a few minutes here, so I just want to see if there's any questions from the audience. And do we have any questions? It's hard to see with the lights. Yeah, we got one here. If you come up to the microphone, that'd be great. Awesome.
What's going on, guys? I just was curious when we would be able to see, maybe purchase a ticket to a digital game at the stadium. It doesn't necessarily need to be live action projected on the screen. Maybe it's the scorecard animations playing out of play-to-play with the Titantron in the background. Anyway, watching a game in the metaverse is where I want to go.
Yeah, so no specific time frame. Once you start getting into live game, whether it's video, live data, it's more of a partnership and collaboration with MLB. So we're working with them and also talking to other clubs as to what that looks like. The technology's there, you know, I mean, so that's, you know, it's really just kind of figuring out, you know, how this plays, not just for us as one of 30 clubs, and then really how it works league-wide. But, you know, again, I see a future where you can, you know, sit in the outfield at Digital Truist Park. You can watch the live feed, video feed of the game on the video board, and then have all of these other enhancements, you know, stats and just, you know, ways to get a little bit deeper into the game itself that manifests itself virtually, you know, within the venue.
Yeah, you can come by the booth. We're at 525. You feel free to come run around. Anybody here, come run around DTP and check it out for yourself. So, other questions? Yep.
Hey guys, really appreciate your talk. Fantastic stuff. I think the project's really awesome. My name's Tim. I head up a company called Vertex. We're basically building an XR platform for virtual stadium content, although it's around specifically esports. We have already, though, spoken to a lot of the international leagues. And one of the questions I actually had was when you went to design this kind of process, how much did the viewing experience from inside the application factor into it around like screens or 2D content? Because obviously there's a bit of a trade-off with digital twins whereby you're obviously very close to the real experience, but you're obviously then trading off a potential future viewing experience for fans inside the 3D application that doesn't have to be one-to-one to the real world. I was kind of curious about how that design kind of decision came about.
Yeah, I think if I understand the question correctly, I mean, we started with a base platform of what Surreal enables right now, which is to say like a full simulation. It's almost like a VR simulation that runs in a browser. So it's a 3D world consumed through a 2D screen, much like Fortnite or the games are played right now. And so most of the decisions that we make around kind of engagement start there. And then when we think about extending and enhancing out to something that would either exist in the real physical stadium, or it's something that could go into more of like a VR headset, we're looking at ways to keep that quality high. So right now we're currently running tests on Cloud XR to think about how can we connect and network in somebody from an XR headset into this experience. The next step from there is obviously looking at the augmented reality kind of layers as well. But again, what we're not trying to do, I think Greg would say this, is the goal is not to replicate or simulate real life one-to-one. Much of the things that we're looking at now really are kind of geared towards what you can't do at the stadium, and making sure that those experiences are kind of in the best interest of that from a fan perspective. So I guess maybe less about the actual viewing angle and more about the content and the programming.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yeah, sure.
One more question. You had mentioned some anchors like community earlier and what fans want in these digital experiences. What other anchors are you seeing outside of just community?
In terms of what fans are looking for, sometimes they don't know what they're looking for. So in other words, it may not be something as specific as I want to be able to purchase this or customize that. From a current fan standpoint, it's immersion and connection with the team. And by extension, that's the venue, right? So there's areas of Digital Truist Park, specifically one being Monument Garden, which is really kind of like our museum, for lack of a better term. It's got all artifacts and trophies and memorabilia. And for fans to view that both in person, but also to view it in Digital Truist Park, it's that immersion and connection with the team. And so I think that will continue to be our prime focus as it relates to how do we engage our current fans. But it's going to be a whole other playbook for how do we really start connecting with those future fans.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Just a couple minutes left here. Anybody else?
No, the music's playing.
Yes, so you, Braves fan. Yeah, sure.
What was the question? Go Braves!
Yeah, thank you.
Go Braves!
We are at time, guys. Thank you so much. We'll be ready here off the stage on the booth if you have any questions. Happy to answer. Thank you.